Hello, I'm Alistair James, and this week on Biz Basics, we're going to be talking about macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is quite a meaty subject, but there are very few key details that you do need to know about when understanding macroeconomics. Macroeconomics basically refers to the economic stats and the data of any economy and seeing how healthy that economy is based on those statistics. There are a lot of stats that are taken into consideration, from income to consumer prices, but like I said, there are a very few key set of statistics that you do need to know about. First off, we have GDP, otherwise known as Gross Domestic Product. It's a widely used indicator of economic health and accounts for the total value of all output of an economy. So basically, all of an economy's activity for that period of time, usually in years. GDP includes investment, government spending, exports and imports, and the income of workers and profits of everyone who's working and employed in that country. What economists do is create a figurative basket of goods and services that people generally use on a day-to-day basis, and look at the prices of these goods, and then look at the prices of those goods in different countries to see how they measure up. The baskets, like I said, are made up of everyday items and are reviewed yearly to account for any changes that take place, and this is referred to as the Consumer Price Index, or CPI for short. We also have the Retail Price Index, the RPI, which is very similar to the CPI, but features a much larger basket of goods and services. The next indicator we have is unemployment, which is a very big indicator of economic health. Obviously, high levels of unemployment are not good, examples of which being benefits, low tax revenue, and because the unemployed typically spend less, is an example, are all examples of why unemployment isn't very costly for economies. High unemployment can also have a very dramatic impact on security, which isn't something you might have thought of at first. The Eurozone crisis has created a lot of inequality. There's a less equal distribution of wealth, and in these cases we have seen lots of demonstrations which very quickly have turned violent, and we've seen that happening in countries like Greece, which serve as a perfect example of this whole crisis. This is also very costly, in addition, because it drives people towards poverty, it lowers self-esteem, and by doing so promotes social dislocation, unrest, and conflict. Moving on, we've got inflation, which is a very big concern for economies. If prices are consistently rising, people have less purchasing power, and this creates a particular problem for employers because workers then demand a relative rise in wages to help with the decreased purchasing power. The Bank of England is in charge of keeping inflation down, but the general global policy in regards to inflation is to keep interest rates high, and by doing so curb spending and kind of bring inflation down, because those prices then can't rise as much if there are high interest rates. Finally, when it comes to international trade, what you need to know about are tariffs, quotas, and imports and exports. Tariffs are taxes put onto foreign imports to make them more expensive, so people within the country are then encouraged to buy homegrown products and produce. The taxes then make the foreign imports more expensive. Quotas on imports work in roughly the same way. They're limits placed on the number of foreign imports to again encourage investment in a country's homegrown products. The World Trade Organization manages international trade and promotes a system called free trade, which is an economic policy most countries in the world subscribe to. And imports and exports must be balanced, otherwise there's going to be a surplus or a deficit, which neither is particularly good for a single economy. So those are the key statistics that you need to know about in regards to macroeconomics. Again, you can follow the Basics of Business on Twitter at Basic of Business, on Stellar at the same name, the Basics of Business blog.wordpress.com, and on YouTube as well, and on our Facebook page, The Biz Basics. I'm Alistair James. Thank you very much.